A mother's love is one of the most powerful forces in the world. When guided by faith, that love can shape destinies, overcome impossible odds, and leave a legacy that echoes through history. In this episode of Mothers of Faith, we spotlight three remarkable women who answered God's call in unique ways. Jochebed, the courageous mother of Moses; Hannah, whose faith and promise to God gave rise to the great prophet Samuel; and Maria Augusta von Trapp, the nurturing mother who inspired one of the world's most beloved stories of faith and family. Although these mothers lived in different eras and faced vastly different challenges, their lives share a common thread: an unwavering trust in God and a willingness to surrender their children into His hands. Let's dive into their journeys and discover how their faith changed their families, nations, and the world. Jochebed, the courageous mother of Moses. In the oppressive world of ancient Egypt, where Pharaoh's decree threatened the lives of every Hebrew male child, one mother's courage and faith changed the course of history. Her name was Jochebed, and her story is a testament to trusting God even in the face of impossible odds. Jochebed, a Levite woman, lived during a time of unimaginable suffering for the Israelites. Pharaoh, fearing the growing Hebrew population, had ordered that every male Hebrew infant be thrown into the Nile River. When Jochebed gave birth to her son, she saw something extraordinary in him that stirred her faith and gave her the courage to defy the king's edict. So, for 3 months, Jochebed hid her baby, trusting God to protect him. But as the danger grew, she made an unthinkable decision: to place her precious child in a basket and set him adrift on the Nile, entrusting his life to the God of Israel. Her act of faith was met with God's providence. The basket was discovered by Pharaoh's daughter, who had compassion for the baby and decided to raise him as her own. Through a series of divine events, Jochebed was even hired as his nurse, allowing her to nurture and instill her faith in him during his earliest years. The child grew up to be Moses, the great deliverer of Israel, who led his people out of Egypt and received God's law on Mount Sinai. But what did Jochebed instill in Moses within the first few years of the child's life that made him maintain his integrity and faith in the God of his forefathers, despite growing up in the idolatrous courts of Pharaoh? Stephen said in Acts 7 that
Moses was educated in all the wisdom of the Egyptians and was powerful in speech and action.
That means that as Moses was undergoing his training as a prince in the court of Pharaoh, he must have been taught all the occultic practices of ancient Egypt. Yet, when he got to 40 years old, the alarm clock Jochebed encoded into the baby Moses' DNA through her fervent prayers for her son went off and reminded the young man that he was the deliverer of his people and the prophet of the Most High God. Moses' life and mission were thus shaped by his mother's courageous faith. She trusted God to use her small act of obedience and faith to fulfill His greater plan. Jochebed's courage in the face of fear teaches us to trust God with the most precious parts of our lives, knowing that His plans are always greater than our own. Hannah, the mother who gave her son to God. In the heart of ancient Israel, a woman named Hannah carried a burden that many would consider unbearable. She was childless in a culture where motherhood was seen as a sacred calling. Yet, instead of giving in to despair, Hannah turned her pain into prayer, and her faith brought forth one of Israel's greatest prophets. Hannah was married to Elkanah, who loved her deeply despite her inability to bear children. However, her childlessness brought her ridicule from others, especially from Peninnah, Elkanah's other wife. Year after year, as they journeyed to the temple in Shiloh, Hannah poured out her anguish to God, praying fervently for a child. One year, in her desperation, she made a bold promise to the Lord.
"If you give me a son, I will give him back to you all the days of his life."
Her prayer was so heartfelt that Eli, the high priest, initially thought she was drunk, but when she explained her sorrow and faith, he blessed her, saying,
"Go in peace, and may the God of Israel grant your petition."
God heard Hannah's prayer, and in time she gave birth to a son, whom she named Samuel, meaning heard by God. True to her vow, Hannah brought Samuel to the temple as a young boy and dedicated him to the Lord's service. Samuel grew up to become one of Israel's greatest leaders, a prophet, priest, and judge who anointed the first two kings of Israel, Saul and David. His life and ministry were a direct result of his mother's faith and her willingness to surrender her most precious gift to God. Her life of prayers paid off in the life of Samuel, so that he was able to maintain his integrity in the debauched house of Eli, whose godless sons, Hophni and Phinehas, were very bad examples for any growing child. Hannah trained her son so that when he grew up, he did not forget his mother's teachings. Hannah's story is a powerful reminder that God hears our prayers and honors our faith. Her willingness to let go and entrust her son to the Lord demonstrates that true blessings come when we surrender to God's perfect will. Maria Augusta von Trapp, the mother who turned faith into song. In the serene beauty of the Austrian Alps, a young woman named Maria Augusta von Trapp discovered a calling that would transform her life and inspire the world. Known to many through the beloved story The Sound of Music, Maria was far more than a governess turned mother. She was a woman of deep faith who used music and love to guide her family through adversity and into God's purpose for their lives. Maria's story began with a life devoted to God. She was training to become a nun in a Benedictine abbey when she was sent to care for the children of widowed naval officer Georg von Trapp. What began as a temporary assignment became a life-changing journey. Maria married Georg, becoming not only a wife but a devoted mother to his 7 children. The von Trapp family faced significant challenges, including the rise of Nazi Germany and the loss of their wealth. But through faith, love, and music, Maria united the family and helped them find their voice. Together, they performed as the Trapp family singers, using their God-given talents to bring joy and hope to audiences across Europe and America. When the family fled Austria to escape Nazi oppression, they left everything behind, trusting God to provide for their needs. Their journey of faith led them to America, where they built a new life and continued to share their music. Maria's unwavering trust in God and her ability to inspire those around her turned their struggles into a testament to faith and resilience. Maria Augusta von Trapp's story is a beautiful reminder that faith, love, and creativity can overcome even the darkest challenges. Her life demonstrates how a mother's influence rooted in God can transform a family and inspire the world. Thank you for joining us as we explored the remarkable stories of Jochebed, Hannah, and Maria Augusta von Trapp, 3 extraordinary mothers whose faith not only shaped their families but changed the course of history. Their courage, devotion, and unwavering trust in God remind us that the power of a godly mother's influence reaches far beyond her children. It touches the heart of society and leaves a legacy for generations to come. If these stories inspired you, don't keep them to yourself. Click like, share this video with someone who needs encouragement, and tell us in the comments which story spoke to your heart the most. Subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell so you never miss an episode of Mothers of Faith. Join us next time as we uncover the lives of more incredible women whose faith changed the world.